Welcome to Gold Star Classroom, the podcast where our panelists go back to school. We'll grade them on their answers to a variety of general knowledge and trivia questions. They don't know what we're going to ask, and we don't know what they're going to say. The student with the highest grade at the end of the class will win the coveted classroom prize, the Golden Banana. I'm your host and headmaster, Professor Jerry Jaffe. All right, welcome to today's episode of Gold Star Classroom. I'm your host and headmaster, Dr. Jerry Jaffe, and it's my pleasure to welcome today's students to class. On my right is an ex-educator and home improvement guru, Eddie Werner. Hey.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
Thank you for coming to class today. On my left is Vilmos, comedian and podcaster.
Good to be here. Doctor, I have a hangnail, and I'm wondering if you could fix that for me.
I can, but after the podcast.
Thank you very
Yes.
much, Doc.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one in real life.
I see.
And sitting directly across from me is Ryan Clausen, Youngstown comedian.
Thank you for having me. I love Skittles.
I have no Skittles for you, and I have technically not had you. But I do welcome you to class.
That sounds dirty. Let's keep it PG, Jerry. Come
I would
on.
also like to welcome all of my students listening at home. Today's episode is being recorded live at the Comedy Cellar Mojo's in Austintown. It's my job as your teacher to ask you questions across the breadth and width of human knowledge, and as any good teacher would, to grade your answers. Are you gentlemen ready?
Yes,
Yes?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yes, teacher. Yes, professor. Yes, doctor. Yes, headmaster.
Okay. That's all right.
I didn't know there were going to be questions on this test, but go ahead.
Yes, there are questions on this test. I just hope there's answers on the test. Minus 5 points to Eddie for not turning his phone off before class started. Make sure your phones are off or muted. And my first question is, you are all familiar with the service of Netflix.
Yes.
Did you know that in the year 2006, Netflix ran a $1 million contest? Did you hear about this contest? Do you have any idea what the contest was for?
Never
I
heard
do.
of it.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Vilmos.
Yes, it was.
Tell the students at home.
Netflix ran a contest, and what they were trying to do is find out how big the X should be in Netflix, and what font should be used. And what they did was they put it out to the entire Ether-based world, and basically what they ended up coming up with was the Arial font, normal size.
Would any of the other students like to agree or disagree with Vilmos's answer? Do you have an alternative answer?
I had heard that they were giving away a giant free movie. Unfortunately, they ended up having thousands upon thousands of titles, and they figured, let's just keep it.
Eddie, do you have anything to add?
Well, obviously I know what Netflix is, but as far as the contest, no knowledge.
If you use Netflix, you know that they are always recommending titles to you. They have what's called a recommendation engine, and they offered $1 million bounty if anyone could improve the recommendation engine by 10%.
So it wasn't the X.
It wasn't the X.
Oh.
I'm sorry to say.
I think that was the contest before that.
They always seem to be giving away money, just not to us. Now, there was a problem, which is why they went to outside programmers. Recommendation engines have a really huge problem, and that is how to account for outliers. Odd or quirky movies or users, and how to turn that into a future recommendation. And there is, in fact, and this is the question I really wanted to ask, one movie which is considered the hardest to base a recommendation on. That if people love or hate this movie, recommendation engines do not know how to recommend future movies. And there's literally like an outlier, like one movie, which is the most eccentric, hard-to-grade recommendation. Any guesses as to what that movie would be?
I know what this one is. I got this answer. Sorry, guys.
All right.
Well, Vilmos, why don't we let Eddie and Ryan go
Yeah,
first,
you guys, yeah, it's
and
only
then
fair.
because if...
I'm positive I know this.
See, I have that same feeling. I'm like, I know this one, but Vilmos had quicker reflexes than I am. But with equal
Right.
confidence, it has to be Debbie Does Dallas, Part 15.
Carrying on. Ryan.
I would assume it was Forrest Gump.
No, sadly, Forrest Gump is a movie that's relatively easy to predict. all joking aside, it is actually one of the 25 most hardest movies to predict also, Forrest Gump is. It is actually on a list of eccentric movies that are hard to base predictions on, but it is not number one. So I'll give you partial credit, 10 points to Ryan.
Woohoo!
Vilmos, tell the rest of the students and the students listening at home.
All right, it's Al Qaeda. It's about the love. That's it's about how Al Qaeda is misunderstood, and how it all genesis is from how much a person loves the world and themselves, and has taken that love and has now created an entire organization that is misunderstood throughout the world.
And the problem is that it's hard to rate the recommendations that come out of caves in Afghanistan.
Exactly.
That is the difficulty there.
That's
just
right.
don't
The
get the
Arabic
reception.
is also a problem.
Let me add in a clue, if I might. The Outlier movie is a comedy. It is a very oddball comedy. I would bet most of my students have seen this movie. It's a well-known title.
Can you give us one more clue? Maybe a rating, maybe the year it came out, maybe the initials
I
of the
will give you-
comedian.
Is it Shakes the Clown?
No.
All right.
No, good guess. I'll give you one more clue. It is one of the most profitable movies ever made. It was made for about $400,000. Its lead actor, who is celebrated for this role, was paid $1,000 for being in this movie, and it has made over $48 million in sales since its release. It's one of the most profitable movies ever made.
Is it a Cheech and Chong movie?
No, it is a movie from post-2000.
Is there a witch involved?
Or a vampire? Is it a vampire love story?
Is it an actor or a comic that's the lead? Is the person
Sure.
that's the lead
It is an
stand-up
actor.
comedian?
No, it was an actor, young actor, and it was his first movie of any consequence.
Oh, Adam Sandler.
No, Adam Sandler's been around a lot
Is it
longer,
someone
and
from-
he was a comedian before he was an actor.
Is it someone from Saturday Night Live?
No.
Does it rhyme with Rat Maimon?
No. Although Rat Maimon himself is one of the great actors of underground theater.
That is true.
Underground
It's a
cinema.
male?
It is a male.
Okay.
Animated or real person? Real person.
There was an animated series based on this movie.
Oh, is it a Tim Burton movie?
It is not a Tim Burton movie.
Mr. T Goes to Washington.
The name of this movie also is the name of one of Elvis Costello's pseudonyms that he sometimes uses when he doesn't want to use his real name.
Boy, that's too. I
Keep one more clue. I can sense we are right
16
on the verge.
Candles.
Right on the verge.
No, but I will turn it into your one last clue.
We're
This
so
is
close.
also like high school kids movie. It is a high school friendship comedy made by Mormons.
Oh, the guy from South Park.
No,
Porky's.
no, post 2000.
Post 2000.
I wonder if any
is
of
it
the
a Trey Stone
students.
or Trey, the
no,
South Park guy?
no. I wonder if any of the students at home can think of the name of this movie. Well, let me cut to the chase, and I can ask you a couple of follow-up questions. The movie that is the #1 outlier for recommendation engines and was ruining Netflix is Napoleon Dynamite.
Ugh.
I think this. Oh, the staff at Mojo's. I thought you had it. You look so excited. I was looking for clues from you two. We were playing charades a little bit. Wait, Napoleon Dynamite's
The comedy Napoleon Dynamite?
Oh, you said it's. I thought
It's
you
a
said
comedy.
the lead is a comedian.
No, I said the opposite. I said the lead was an actor, not a comedian.
Gosh.
Oh,
Gosh,
okay, I
Eddie.
missed that.
Gosh, Eddie.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes. Whether you like it or hate it, the recommendation engine doesn't know what to do with that information. to
My kids
recommend-
love that movie.
Right?
I never have seen it. In fact,
Okay.
if I go to my grave having not seen that movie, I'll feel my life has been complete.
I've seen it. Thumbs up. It's a good movie.
Yeah, some people love it. Many of my own students have picked it as their favorite movie of all time.
I stack with that one, and there's many movies I feel I should never see. One of them is Titanic. I will
Okay.
never watch Titanic. Because I already know how it ends.
That's fair.
But the old woman. Oh, okay. There is, so recommendation engines look at what you like and how you rate them and then try to generate guesses. A 10% improvement equaled millions of dollars in profit to Netflix, so they put out this contest. A programming team in 2009 did win the prize, $1 million prize. I'll give you one other, just a trivia point that came out of the same thing, which is the opposite. There are 3 movies that if you like 2 of them or you hate 2 of them, you always love or hate the third one. It's like the simplest. It's like a little tautological closed loop of recommendation. If you pick that you like any of these 2 movies, you will like, or alternatively hate, the third in the set. Any idea?
Oh, I think I've got this one. I want to say anything related to Three Stooges or Three Stooges remakes. It breaks out along gender lines. Guys, funniest thing in the world. Most women, dumbest thing in the world. So is it something like that or related
Well,
to
that's
that
why
by
we
chance?
know women are smarter than men. But, no, nothing to do with the Three Stooges. These are also recent movies, like post-2000. And they are 3 movies that go together.
Rocky 1, 2, and 3.
We covered this previously, Eddie. We know you don't know what year Rocky came out. Students at home will remember Eddie previously not knowing what year the movie Rocky came out.
So they're after 2000. See,
Okay.
okay, and are they? Can you tell us what category they're in? Can you tell if they're comedies, dramas?
If I tell you what category they're in, you'll probably guess, but let's do that to mercifully end this quiz
Thank
question.
you very much.
Fantasy adventure.
Are they set in Middle Earth?
10 points to Ryan.
Oh,
Oh,
Is
very good.
Mordor involved?
There's more and more Mordor involved the more you watch. The Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Cool.
If anyone likes any 2 of those, they will always like the third one, and vice versa. If anyone hates 2 of them, they will never like the third one.
I hated all 3.
Okay.
I literally did hate all 3. Here I will tell you how I can
Hate or hate?
hate. Well, obviously, I look like I ate them all, but that's another issue. When I went, my kids all read the
Right.
books,
Sure.
and they wanted to go see them. When we saw the first one, I fell asleep 45 minutes in.
Sure.
When I went to the second one, I fell asleep 25 minutes in, and the last one, the third one, I fell asleep 10 minutes in, and that's why I say I hated all 3.
Sounds like you got some good rest.
I did. That movie was a little loud, though. I felt like there were too many crashes and booms.
I'd hate to think of what you thought about the Hobbit films.
Full of a took.
I didn't see those.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn to my grade book and tally our points so far. I don't know 3 different ways to say F. I do, however, I try to be a positive, spirited mentor. And in an effort to praise my students, I have here a list of 101 random ways to praise a student. And I'm now going to randomly praise you. Excellent job. All right. That is your random praise. We're going to move to our second question. And our second question is going to begin with a speed round. You'll know this, and then we're going to use the speed round to segue you and the students listening at home into a topic. But the speed round is just who can answer the quickest.
Oh,
Okay?
it's not who comes. Oh, well, I
Okay.
just know I'll find out faster that I don't have an answer.
I thought
Okay.
you were dealing,
No.
Jerry.
All right. This is Roman numerals. I. Ryan. 5 points. V.
5.
5 points for Ryan. Remember, this is a speed round.
Sorry.
I know Vilmos doesn't go quickly for most
I don't
things.
go fast for anything.
That's not a
unless
speed.
it's a burger.
All right. X.
10.
Vilmos. 10 points for Vilmos.
We used those when I was in grade school, so really, I just haven't been paying attention till now.
L.
50.
You notice the pattern. I'll have to switch it up for you. But 50 points for Ryan. M.
1,000.
James
1,000
Bond.
points for Eddie. James Bond. D.
500.
500 points. And there's one more common Roman numeral. Do you know what it is?
C 100.
C. 100. Those are all the common Roman numerals that in Latin numerals they could build other numbers from. You know, XX, IX, all that kind of stuff. Super Bowls and movie year titles. Let me ask you this. This is now the harder questions. What is
Oh, dude.
the Roman numeral for 0?
Isn't it the middle finger protruding? You do it like that? No? All
That
right.
you know what? That's 5 points for creativity and being surprisingly close to the actual answer.
Okay.
Any other thoughts?
How about the Black Panther fist? Straight up.
Yeah. The empty fist holding
whatever
nothing.
yeah, exactly, something like that.
You never come across the Roman numeral for
Actually, you
zero?
stumped me. I did
Actually,
not
I
even
never
know
seen
there
that.
was
Right.
one. Did not know there was one.
Well, Ryan, you want to add anything?
Helen of Troy's behind.
10 points for poetic reference. The trick question, of course, that you could probably can deduce is there is no Roman numeral for zero because the Romans and the Greeks, the Egyptians, they didn't have a number zero. They did math without zero.
Okay.
For the Romans and the Greeks, there was the concept of nothing, like I have no apples, that's nothing.
Or Kim Kardashian has no brains.
Exactly.
I'm
Perfect.
almost
10
out.
points for a good example.
I'm almost out of slaves.
Yeah, but I don't want to have no slaves.
My piss bucket is full,
What's
or my
great
piss
about
bucket is empty.
your slave comment, and deserves at least 25 points,
Thank you.
is that numbering and writing systems were first developed for agricultural chattel, to count what you owned. How much grain do you have? How many cows do you have? How many slaves do you have? And so you would count what you had, like I have 3 slaves. So you need the number 3, but if you don't have any slaves...
Well, that would be three eyes, right?
Yes,
Which actually would
correct.
be the whip three
Three
times,
times.
so they could number their slaves
Yes.
like cattle.
Yes, exactly.
That's why they're all square.
Whip marks. What is zero, anyway?
What is the concept of zero?
Yeah.
That's my bank account. Zero. The concept of not having anything. It's also my comedy career. Which would you like me to start with?
The number
Or
of,
how about my success in marriage? Huh?
Well, you know what about your success in marriage? And my bank account is every society has had to invent the number zero, not the concept, the number zero before they could invent negative numbers.
Ah.
Because on the number line, again, you wouldn't have minus 3 slaves. You either have slaves or you don't have slaves.
Right.
So until, like, any given civilization had the number 0 in their counting system, they didn't have negatives.
What if your slaves ran away or died? You would be like 3 slaves in the whole.
Right, but that's subtraction. So I had 5 slaves and 3 died, and now I only have 2 slaves left. 0, do you know when the number 0 actually entered, like, usage?
Right,
again,
when
the Greeks,
Christ
the
was
Romans,
born. Right, that was 0.
You know what's great about that answer, which also deserves partial credit, is that, it was a monk hundreds and hundreds of years later who set, like Christ was born at 0.
Right.
That's about when the number 0 started getting used, was
There you
during
go.
the life of, like, not the exact life of that, but sort of that era of numbering.
You said monks, I want to say Middle Ages or Dark Ages, like 1400, 1500, something in there.
The first known English use of 0 was not until the year 1598, which the monk who did the Gregorian calendar, that was before that, but he wasn't doing it in English either. All right. I want to just say as a follow-up question, and I think it's a little harder. I know my students at home like when the questions get harder. Related to 0 is another concept, and that is, can someone tell me what infinity is?
The amount of food I'd like to eat.
An infinite amount of food.
Yes, that would be, to me, that's infinity.
What I love about that answer is the concept of 0 and infinity are both related. You've heard of the famous Zeno's paradox. Anyone, for bonus points, tell me what Zeno's paradox is? Anyone?
Infinity and beyond.
You get an infinite number of points for that. Eddie, with your master's degree in theology?
I want to go back a second,
Right.
like 0 and infinity. I want to say when calculus was invented, like when we left the Middle Ages or Dark Ages towards the Enlightenment, when I want to say calculus was maybe like the 1600s, and to make like the integrals and the equations work, they needed 0 and they needed infinity. So I just want to say they needed those figures to make higher math
The
work.
kind of thing you're saying is actually has a lot of merit to it. So 10 bonus points, sir. I will say it's, again, the concept of like 0 being nothing and infinity being like forever, the concepts have been around since the Greeks, the Indians, the Romans, the Egyptians. But the mathematical calculations that are needed for 0 and infinity come with
developments in math, calculus, physics,
And I
things
do
like
know
that.
the paradox question, if we could
Okay,
come back
what
to
is
that
Zeno's
for a
paradox?
moment. It's when you don't have a sexual partner, you'll want sex from almost anyone at any time and any kind of sex. But when you've been married for a long time and you have regular access to the same partner and the same positions over time, you don't want it. So that's like the paradox right there.
And that's a little too autobiographical, Eddie. Recent divorcee, Eddie Werner, everybody.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
May I ask a question?
Of course. All of my students.
What do they do with the negative Roman numerals? Do they just put the letters upside down?
They write them backwards. No, the Roman numerals never went to negatives because they never had zero.
Oh.
So the Romans also never had negative numbers.
So 0 is like the bridge number, the transitional number.
Yeah.
Without 0, you can't go to the negatives.
Correct. Just so my students at home know the answer as well as you here in the classroom today, Zeno's paradox, Zeno was the old Greek philosopher who famously said, if you shoot an arrow, it's got to go half the distance to get to the target, but it's got to go half the distance again and half the distance again. So in theory, you would never get hit by the arrow because there's an infinite number of half amounts. Did you ever hear that before? Some people have heard that before.
Yeah, I heard that he did that all the way up until the time he actually stood in front of the arrow that
Yes.
they were shooting to prove that the theory was correct.
Well, the physicists always have that problem.
Right.
Theory and practice are two different things.
I've heard that with a door. If you like close a door halfway and then another like a quarter, an eighth, and you keep going, the door will never close. So
Correct.
I've
That's
heard it with
Zeno's
the door,
paradox.
yeah.
And so infinity and zero are both tied up in that. But that's just an example that the concepts of infinity and zero are round, but not the actual numbers to do math or science with. Do you know when? You all did high school math. Eddie apparently did calculus. You know what's the infinity symbol?
It's the thing that looks like an 8 sideways.
An A and a gold star for Vilmos. Good job.
Ooh.
I just gave you a gold star for that. That's that sideways 8.
Do you want me to tell you how I know what it is?
How do you know?
I've had it tattooed on my penis because size matters.
That's Zeno's paradox.
That's right.
See,
Yes.
I was thinking that too.
do
I
you
didn't want to
know-
be too dirty with it, but like right before the parts come, if you're always halfway away from the magic
You can
part,
never have
you
sex.
never can have sex. So I
Do
was
you
gonna say
know
that.
when the infinity mark was first used in European mathematics? Any guess?
I want to say like 1600s, like in
Yep, in the
Enlightenment
17th
times,
century.
1600s, yeah.
Gold star for Eddie. There you go. Well done, Eddie. I am reminded, students at home will know this, that I'm a big fan of Oscar Wilde, who once said, I am so clever that sometimes I don't understand a single word of what I am saying. And I would like to say, you guys are quite clever as well. Now,
That was the most awkward transition I've seen in my entire life.
I want the students at home to know that I am now calculating your final grades in order to determine who will receive today's classroom prize, the coveted golden banana. But before we determine the winner of the classroom prize, we have one more extra credit question. And for the extra credit question, I'm going to bring up a topic, and you each get a chance to give some information or trivia about the topic, and the person with the best information or trivia will get bonus points in their grade. Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
The topic of today's extra credit is presidential trivia. So, any trivia having to do with any of the United States presidents. Eddie,
I'll start.
thank you for going first, Eddie.
Since my mind is in the gutter this evening,
Yes.
for obvious reasons, I'm on a current dry spell. I'm gonna stay there. President Johnson had the hugest schlong out of all the U.S. presidents. It was so massive, and he was so proud of it. He would actually undress on Air Force One, walk around naked, like during staff meetings. And back in the day, like 60s, people were more liberal. He never got sued for sexual harassment and never caught up. So he was so proud, naked whenever he could. True story. Google it when we're done.
All right. Thank you, Eddie, and thank you for going first. Ryan and Vilmos.
What many people don't know about President George W. Bush's presidency is that they did, in fact, find weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And actually, I have an audio snippet of him. My fellow Americans, what you don't know is we found weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. We found biological weapons,
and nuclear weapons, and most importantly, chemical weapons.
All right. Thank you. Eddie, Google that if you can. Vilmos, some presidential trivia. Can you beat either of these two?
Well, I don't know if it beats this, but a lot of people don't really know that John F. Kennedy, at the time of his death, was the largest collector of Barbies that's ever been known. He had a very extensive collection, which he used to dress them up like Jacqueline Onassis. And the really sad part of it is that Lee Harvey Oswald thought he was G.I. Joe, and that's where the whole shooting thing came from.
Okay. All right. Fascinating. Fascinating. As I take into account this extra credit portion, I want to congratulate the students here in class today for successfully one-upping each other. I thought in each case we had a winner, and yet each person was able to raise the stakes each time. And as a result, the winner of today's classroom prize, well, Eddie and Ryan's final grades were both D's, but Vilmos's is double D's.
Wow.
And so for that honor, you received today's prize, the golden banana. Congratulations, Vilmos.
I'm humbled. Very humble.
And it just remains for me, your host, to thank you, my students, Eddie, Ryan, Vilmos, and the students listening at home for coming to today's class. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gold Star Classroom is written and produced by Jerry Jaffe. Our producer and engineer is Stephen Gutierrez. Original music composed and produced by Jeff Geddert. Mr. Geddert is also our assistant producer. All commentary and opinions expressed by guests of Gold Star Classroom are meant for entertainment purposes only. For Gold Star Classroom, I'm Jerry Jaffe.